right answer. That's done. Yeah. So we've gone back and forth quite a bit on that topic this year.
It's interesting.
Just when you think you have it figured out, the teenagers are surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, like, you know.
Well, all right, Caitlin, thank you for coming. So obviously, we're doing a new effort. We're streaming live, and a few folks signing up. But the goal here is to do, just getting prepared for next year. Parents are looking to start planning, and some of the things that you guys can give us as things to watch for, either we have prospective parents that have been, asking for where to go and who to talk to, and getting prepared for thinking about next year. And then obviously how they can get more information.
Well, I mean, we have so much information, and it's we were hoping this could be as interactive as possible.
Yeah.
We could easily talk for an hour all about the things that the Dean's Office is trying to prepare for and do. We brought a lot of materials which we're hoping to share around and discuss, but we have general talking points, and then within that, please interject, give us input, questions. It'll help us because we'll also have an opportunity to reflect and think more what we can do better. But we've already hit the ground running for next year, I would say.
Exactly. And I would say, some of the things we'll cover are things that happen every year. They're the strong things that come from our office that really make our campus and Vermont Academy special, like the advisory system and weekend activities and scheduled calendar events that the students really look forward to. And then there are things that do change year to year. Sometimes a class will have a new initiative, or as a school, we'll have something new we're working toward as a theme. So some things stay the same every year, and sometimes they change. So, I think often when people think of the Dean's Office, they think of just discipline. And it was really a nice shift recently when we changed, the title of our office to the Office of Student Life, because it really does encompass so many things. It's basically everything that involves a student life that captures their time when they're not sitting in a classroom or they're not on the field or in the gym. So, that's everything from weekend activities to, their advisor, which is someone you all interact with very closely, to their class deans that take, incredible care of their entire class, and, res life curriculum, which Brian will talk a lot about. It's just so many components, so it's not just discipline, I think sometimes, which is important to know because there's so many great things going on.
Yeah, unfortunately, the disciplinary side of it is the stuff obviously it bogs us down at times, but we're obviously the most passionate when we're doing these kind of things, and we can see when those are going well. And we also meet very closely with our student leaders, VAPA, government. What can we do better? Like, what have you enjoyed? We reflect on speakers, we reflect on topics, and that has helped us a lot. And that was we recently were just talking about prom, and they were incredibly influential. There was one or two, like, we'd love to do this, but the rest were, what if we did this? What could it become? So that's the way we developed it for this year. But I suppose as we're looking for next year, the theme is going to be service. So that'll be incorporated into every class in different ways. To start that off, the all-school summer read is The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but what we liked about it, it was a boy who believed in the power of community. It takes in elements of the supernatural, but it was more relatable, right? It was a belief in something small to do big. And we thought that tied in very well to service. So it's less so we've done certain summer reads where it's an adult man with a Harvard education and about this, and that. And I'm not sure how much the kids got out of it. Last year, we took a step closer when we did The Hate You Give, which was very relatable and very topical, and we watched at a Red's Life meeting, which was great. So we want to continue with that, so that's why we're doing The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. And we're going to tie in the sense of community, design, innovation, all of that that's in that book to our own community. So we're going to kick off the year with a big in-service day. Obviously, they'll come in, they'll move in, they'll do some other orientation-like things, but then one day it's just going to be service, and we're going to have a bunch of different connections within town that we'll be doing, and that'll all be connected within the new opening of the park across from the Postal Service there. They're redoing that whole area, and we want to find a way, this is still in process, but a way of if we did an entire green up activity all over campus, if we can consolidate all the trash, all of the recyclable materials, to build something that would stay to be a monument down there that's VA generated, to incorporate, what should be trash to something that we worked all day and create something beautiful out of it. So something beautiful, memorable, they can come back years from now and see that. And that was all trash that we found throughout the community which we repurposed to create something else. That was one thing that's been very exciting that our current VAPA leadership has been actively involved in. So that's going to be fun.
That's great.
That's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing, that is reliable, which I can talk about, is our advisor program. So as you know, because you're returning parents, it's one of our most special components of everything. So each student gets an advisor, and they are able to choose their advisor. So that process is actually taking place right now. It's an amazing process that we give the kids the opportunity, if they're a returning student, once they've experienced and really sort of absorbed what the VA experience is like, who they want for an advisor next year. And 75% of the time they keep the same advisor. Sometimes it shifts. They may have, a connection with a coach or someone in the art department, but it's really about them choosing who they want to develop a relationship with. And it's a really poignant relationship here. And for those that are incoming and new, we take a lot of time to sort of like consider background or what their experience is or their interests, and then we match them with a faculty member that we think will really be, influential and a nice match for them. That's an amazing layer to your communication to our students. So we work with your students, and the advisor is always caring for your students. So it's your conduit to their experience here. And that's sort of designed in a way that visually is sort of easy to see. Like we integrate periods into their academic week where they get to meet with their advisor and they get to discuss basically anything that they would like. But from a structural standpoint, we really focus on two important things. Our MAPS curriculum, which is my action plan for success, which is designed by the student and really fueled by their interests and where they want to see themselves at the end of the year, and then also integrated into these times that the students meet, and they meet 2 times a week, are student life curriculum topics. So they'll spend maybe one day, like on a Tuesday morning with their advisor, talking about, I really have been struggling in biology and I really want to get an A this trimester. And what can we make for a plan to be able to see that happen? And that might be some extra time in science study hall or a variety of different efforts that can be collaborated together to make that happen, to have that goal met for that student, and that advisor helps. And the student life curriculum is this amazing thing that actually Brian designed last year with Abby Edwards, and it's really a list of several topics that are posted on our faculty resource board, and we have a lot of latitude as to how we want to foster that conversation. But Brian and Abby will say, this week let's talk about healthy relationships, and here's this terrific article that we read and we think would be really helpful, or here's a link to a short video, and maybe you could watch this during your advisory, and that'll have a more organic discussion with your group about that subject that we feel is really sort of important for adolescents and just pertinent to them right now. So the advisory system is really special. The kids develop amazing relationships with their advisors. It's really something that grows over time. We definitely have kids that are with their advisors for 4 years. It's pretty special. That is sort of tiered into the class dean and then also the dean of student life. There are all these layers, but that's a really, I don't think often parents necessarily know that they have like designed times into their day to check in with that point person, to sort of lay out like how they're feeling about things. Sometimes they're great. Sometimes they might want to make a shift, a dorm change or a sport change, or that class might be too challenging. They really thought they wanted to go for it, but it's, they've now got 5 AP classes and they just want to, scale back a little bit. So that's a reliable piece of the Office of Student Life, but it changes in the sense that we can, Brian, and we can shift conversational pieces for next year. So this year we had all sorts of things that we felt were really important, but those will change for next year, and they're always really pertinent to what we think the kids should be conscious of and ways that we can integrate having those conversations with our children, which is great.
And within that, we want to find a balance. So we want to have, student life curriculum, different processes, topics we want to go over. But we also feel like some of the most meaningful times, right, is just that organic downtime, when it's just the kid and those advisors. That's when those topics come up. That's when they confide that thing they wouldn't tell another person. So we don't want to impinge on that. So as two required advisories, we like to think that one is curricular based with the topics and themes that she was sort of alluding to. But generally the goal with all of those is independence, self-discipline, empathy, kind of compassion, kind of taking a step back from a 1,000-foot view. What can you be doing better? Generic topics like community responsibility, academic, intellectual capacities, competency, civility, social responsibility, stuff like that. But it's broken down more kind of, as you can see here, if you'd like to take a look, bi-weekly topics. And what we'll usually have is, as Caitlin said, some sort of resource, some sort of reading, some sort of video. So it's not the same thing in every single advisory. They're not going to leave advisory and go, what'd you think of that article? It is for the advisor to own it. If they want that video and they think it's more powerful, or if they want to do that activity related to that, they can do it. So what I do, and this is a topic for September in general, it's broken down with all the different layers of it. The advisor can make it whatever they want. And that's one day a week. The other one is we're just hanging out. What's going on in your world? You want to guys go for a walk? You want to play a game outside? And we think that's great. So we don't want to bog them down and think they're back in class. So we do both. We have curricular-based activities and also just organic hangout time, which has definitely been something we've seen work quite well. And we'll continue to strengthen that because it'll have more time for us to meet with advisors and kind of make that better and better and better. We don't want to put too much on their plate. We're all stretched thin, right? They're coaching, they're dorm parents, they're teaching. The last thing I want to do is make them meet with me every Monday morning before class starts. Say, hey, this is busy advisor. I'm going to teach you all this. That's not what we're doing. But as much as they can take it and own it, it's more, I say this is the topic. I'm not that on that topic. You don't either. But what's something that resonates with you, then how can you pass along to the kids? And I think that's what we do well. So again, then we do that bi-monthly. It's on the resource page. Our advisors can access it and go from there. And then that's actually broken down even further by grade level.
By grade level, absolutely. There are all these layers of care sort of for each of our students. We have their teachers and we have their coaches, we have their dorm parents and advisors. And we also have the class deans. And so each class, a class dean is responsible for their entire class and for sort of guiding all the advisors and students within their class. So in each class really has a tone. So the 9th grade always has this amazing 9th grade trip to Camp Dakota, and it's really special. And Nate Williams is the class dean, and he's brilliant with it. And they do an overnight at a camp, and they cover a lot of, what to expect at Vermont Academy. They're new, they're getting used to one another, and it's just a very gentle way to sort of have these icebreaker moments with their new classmates, but also start to learn, from some of our health counselors and from some other advisors in the 9th grade, what to expect at Vermont Academy. There are going to be rules. What's it going to be like when we get there? And they get to do that with all of these new incoming 9th graders. So, the 9th grade always has a very specific tone to it because it's about sort of making these new 9th graders feel comfortable while also, introducing them to the concept of boarding in school and balancing all that they balance when they get here. The 10th grade, which is consistent, left this year and piloted a 3-year mentor program with another school, Kernhattan. So that's been absolutely amazing. That's been the first time that we've really paired some of our 10th graders with another group of children from another school. And it's been amazing. So it's been weekend activities and they have buddies. And for the 10th graders, they really get to, think about their influence on these younger kids. And they don't feel like the 10th graders that are, lower at the school.
Are you
They feel
planning on doing that like next year's 10th
we are,
grade?
so it'll cycle through. So we match our 10th graders with the Kernhattan 6th graders, and it's a 3-year relationship, which, and then goes to 7th and 11th. And then their school graduates at the 8th grade. So when our 12th graders are graduating, their 8th graders are graduating, they will have had a 3-year relationship. It's been absolutely amazing. And the first year is relationship building. The second year is about academic goals, a little bit similar. So our 10th graders are slightly versed in their goal setting process. So they get to sort of impart some of this onto the students there. And then it launches into, leadership and what that feels like for the last year, which, is, coupled with what our seniors do, which is often about leadership. But so that's been really exciting for the 10th grade. There are other distinguishing qualities of the 10th grade. They also do a poetry out loud section unit in English, which is just spectacular. We're integrating
Or
them.
traumatizing my son.
It does, it asks, you
He's actually
know,
been on the stage quite a bit.
I know, but then it was great. It's good. It's awesome.
it asks them to step out of their comfort zone, and it also introduces them to the arts for some of the students that may not have that experience otherwise. So, you know, and for those of you that don't know, it's if they recite poems and they learn about poems, and then they'll compete, like within the class, they'll recite, and then sometimes on stage in front of the student body, and then out of state and a national level. So those are some qualities of the 10th grade. And I'm 10th grade class dean, so I really enjoy being part of that this year. But the 11th grade class dean, she's really instrumental in really starting to get the students to think about what that college process is going to be. And she works closely with college counseling, and they build on college seminar and what that looks like. What are they interested in? What have they done here that's really, you know, felt valuable to them? And where are they going to go with it? And then the 12th grade, Chris Marks and his class, they do focus on leadership. Like they're reflecting on this whole experience and how are they influencing our younger classmen, and also managing a little bit of what it's going to feel like when they're not here anymore. For some of these kids, they've been here for 4 years, and they're feeling the stress of the college application process and you know what that'll look like when they move on. So it's about the leadership helps them to sort of think like, okay, this has been my experience. It's been really wonderful. And then you get to show that, you know, the undergrades, like what that looks like as you're ready to sort of spread your wings and go on to college. But yeah, I mean, and in addition to those sort of subjects that happen with the classes, we then have some class initiatives integrated even more. Deeply
You
into
pretty
those,
much outlined them as clearly. I mean, but to put it in less words, it's 9th grade is that crash course in citizenship, excuse me. Not many of these kids have lived away from home, so it is developing independence, addressing homesickness, general authorship, speaking up for yourself, being a self-advocate, life skills, cooking, laundry is one we tend to have to do quite well with our 9th graders. Learning and living with other people. There's different culture backgrounds, personal space, all these things, communication skills. That's where we're going to be hands-on with the 9th graders, and that's where our counselors, Nate Williams, our class dean, who already spoke to, really own that. And that's why we think Camp Dakota, that first experience, like, okay, you're here, but you're not just integrated yet. We're going somewhere else, just our grade, to do our own thing. And I think that's
Do you guys do any group bonding ice breaking with the upper class? Like, I mean, 9th grade gets Dakota, but in the fall, is there any time, because I know every year you're getting new students into the grades.
We definitely do.
we did.
I mean, it's all part, and it's actually an amazing part of our orientation and student programming in the beginning of the year. And it's also closely tied with leadership positions for students on campus. So right now, for instance, students are filling out their applications to be proctors for next year. And so those are the student leaders on campus. Those are the kids, those are the current students that are sort of teaching our other students how to be like responsible Vermont Academy citizens.
So is it only for boarding students, like day students?
We have day student proctors too.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
We
it's
do
really
these
great.
instructors, yep, absolutely.
But they do a tremendous job, and you can speak more about this because you.
Well, they help with orientation, they help with countless things. But I would say in terms
They
of
help
like
with that a
the
lot.
icebreakers and the team building, I think it happens in many ways because, so these kids come in and they do it by grade. They do it by whatever sport they're playing. And then at night, it's done residentially as well. Like everyone on your floor is doing your own things. We have competitions. We always kick off the year with the big photo scavenger hunt, where it's like the must-know places on campus, little things to weekend cars, the dean's office, cafeteria, like everything you need to know. They run around to 30 locations on campus all night long, taking photographs of whoever gets the best pictures, the best quality, as many people in the photos as possible. They get a catered lunch, and they tend to choose Chipotle or something terrible, but that's not so it's great to see at nighttime these kids sprinting across campus. And I also, as an extra incentive, running around with a bag of candy that I'm just throwing in different locations throughout the whole night. So that's just another like immediate thing that we do early on in the year to get everybody involved. Or a good example was a student this year who's a senior. Kelly came late into the year, hadn't met a single person, arrived that day. Her plan was still to stay at her hotel because she hadn't moved in and she got at like 6 o'clock. She heard this was going on. She knew she was going to West Hill. The proctors found her at dinner and said, would your parents be okay coming back at 11 o'clock tonight? We looked at the parents and they're like, yeah, they're okay, I guess. Grabbed her. She was part of the scam. So it's stuff like that our proctors really do well. So I would say there's definitely team building icebreakers to start the year off.
So, Brian, one of the things we heard from our sort of previous meeting was the day student parents voiced pretty loudly that when their end of the day and their end of their commitment is here, they're gone. Like it wasn't they don't want the back and forth, driving back and forth, the programs for day and boarder seem, we had two, so I don't think
Yeah,
it's, I don't think it's a representative
I think
sample.
it's a mixed bag.
Right.
I think there are some day students that when they're done,
Right.
and they don't want to come back for the school day.
Right.
And then there are other day students who will learn. I mean, I will say that it took my son a while to learn that he was welcome to hang out, and he found a place
That
to
there's places to
study,
go
and there are places to go.
So,
But I think there's a split
Yeah. so I think
in the day population.
I really like, one takeaway I took out of that was VAPA, for one, could and work with you on these are what you can do. Like, this is the places you can go. Obviously, Levitt House is an option, you know,
Or,
the den and other things that, you know, day student parents could say to themselves, you know, there are things that they can do outside of their sports commitment and, you know, not have to make them feel like, you know.
And I think it's the parents that need to know that information, quite
That's what I mean,
frankly.
right.
Because I don't think that the parents know that there's a day student lounge that's been made
sure, yeah.
in the basement of Levitt. And I think that the kids may know, but it's the parent who needs to reinforce, I'm not coming to pick you up because you can hang out in Levitt
Right.
and still
Be
do this.
downstairs
Yeah.
for a couple of
Or
hours
here
and
is
make your
the-
practice, yeah.
Here is the boarding school schedule, host activities that, you know, like we are doing the ice cream truck for spring fling. You know, it's for 200 kids. And when I heard these two day student parents say, no, we won't even be there, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I was like blown away by why wouldn't you participate in spring fling? Spring fling is one of the most fun things in the end of the year that you would participate in. So as an aside, whatever we can do to help you promote that and promote those schedules, we want to work with you to get that word out because that shouldn't happen.
I think it's difficult early on, especially, right? Especially for new day
I was just gonna
students.
say.
They don't have those bonds. They don't know that they can go to this location. And I do think we could promote that better.
And I have to say, our
And that's
first
not a
year
big-
here,
it's not a big-
I just want
Yeah,
to
You
show.
know, our
Totally.
greatest gift, honestly, is when these kids turn 16 and get their licenses. 'Cause when they can,
Yeah.
they choose to get in the car and come to something like, you know, and when the burden doesn't, I don't want to call it a burden, but it doesn't necessarily fall on a parent driving on a
Right,
Sunday
yeah.
necessarily, you know, so that tends to be our greatest, because surprisingly, they love participating in all that stuff as day students.
Or-
And they elect to come, you know, but early on, I think it is, you know, to help the parents understand there are places they can go comfortably and be if they're just learning the campus and yeah, to make it easier.
yeah,
you know.
I remember the very first year, and I know how hard everybody works, and I'm not trying to be critical, but I'm trying to be helpful, that I felt like I needed a day person to talk to, you know, to answer me specifically about day student questions.
Yeah.
And I
I
remember-
don't think that would necessarily be tied to a particular class. I mean, ninth graders probably are going to ask more questions, but if you had somebody whose charge was day students,
Yeah.
I
Just for communication.
Yeah.
I
Just
just
for
wanted one
communication.
person to say, I'm looking at the schedule and I see this, but I don't understand where my day student fits in the schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think to have a point person, and I did mention that after freshman year, and they were saying, well, that's what the advisor's for. And I was like, well, I don't want to bug the advisor about like a pickup question, you know what I mean?
You're never, just so you know, you're never bugging an advisor.
Well, and I
They
don't
do
do that way,
it.
but some of it is just like nuts
Is
and
that true?
bolts that I felt like. She is correct. Yeah,
Just like,
I felt like the woman at admissions who his name I should know, whose son is a day student. I felt like even if somebody like her, Candy, or, I'm sorry, Tammy, like, I just want, so what's the scoop today, Tammy? Like, when am I coming? You know what I mean? It was literally that kind of a question, not like a big social philosophical. It was just the nuts and bolts about day students. And I do feel like that, as now seasoned day parents, that's
Yeah, that would be helpful.
One other question, these programs on development and so on, are those readily available? I mean,
You mean these programs?
yeah,
Like student life discussion topics?
yeah.
How do you mean? How available and
As
what? As for you to
like,
access them?
yeah, as a parent.
I mean, it's certainly something we could explore. And so it lives on sort of our on-campus system, which our faculty have access, our kids have access to, and they can see them. We could explore a way to share that even more. I've even had that
I
in
mean,
the
you would
past
like as a
weekend
parent to
activities.
know that these are conversations.
I
that they're
think
talking about.
particularly, I mean, I'm trying to put myself in the mind of a, well, boarding parent.
Yeah.
To know that these
I
kinds of
think I'd like to
discussions,
know that they're talking about health.
maybe to reinforce, maybe just to know that these discussions, even for day students, for the parents to know that these kinds of discussions are occurring, I think is
Yeah,
profound.
I'll tell you, I saw one topic on there which I think is incredibly important, and that's about vaping.
Yeah.
And the single most dangerous gateway drug right now is vaping.
Yep.
There is a approximately 15 to 20 fold increase that someone who begins vaping will transition to combustible cigarettes as an adult.
Yep.
And so, although I don't mean this to be misinterpreted, I think you need to be strict on alcohol too. Vaping is far more dangerous as a public health issue, as a individual health issue, et cetera. And so it's great that you have that on there, but the parents should be reinforcing that. It's not just sort of a cute thing, flavored thing, neat little electronic things. This is probably the most dangerous thing you will face as education leaders with young people, whether they're day students or boarding students.
And
I'm willing to bet that if you went out to the parent student body, most of them are not aware that you're covering these topics.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the vaping was an entire Res Life night. We had a full,
I was just gonna
an
say.
entire presentation. Robin Patch, who you all know, is wonderful with her
Yeah.
health program. But her and I were on stage and we were
Yeah.
talking about everything, the long-term health effects. You know, it's the same way that you look at cigarettes, right, in the 40s and the 50s. They didn't understand the long-term concept. And even now, they don't understand what chemicals are in these vapes. And we talk all
And
about
even
that.
beyond that, what we do know is they're far more addictive. And so
Well,
the
'cause
combination
how
of,
nicotine
yeah,
is
well,
in
the
each
combination of flavoring
Yeah.
and
It's
nicotine
deceiving.
Yeah.
together is more than additive in terms of an addictive agent because of the way it works on the brain. And so if you're able to, solve, you're not going to solve a lot of the other things that we don't have to necessarily go into, but if you can solve that in an environment like this, the positive health implications long-term are difficult to measure. You can't over-exaggerate the importance of it.
And a way to.
No, I just wanted to add, I mean, we all understand the long-term ramifications, but the thing that I think we're all missing is why are they turning to this? What are the underlying issues that it's giving them some kind of a relief and escape, whatever it may be? Is it, undiagnosed anxiety? Is it an undiagnosed learning disability? Is it, beginnings of depressions? And this is giving them something. Is it an insecurity, a fear, something that they have, and we're not addressing those things? That's why everybody starts vaping, cigarette smoking, drinking, is because they are escaping something.
Well, I would say a component of trying to bring light to that being such a serious issue is twofold. It's an educational piece, teaching them actually about, how dangerous it actually is. And then, we don't love to fixate on the disciplinary part, but we did actually last year. We changed our rule about vaping and we made it much more serious. If you were caught vaping, you got a warning. And then the next time it was treated as though you were caught with drugs or alcohol and went into like a nicotine program. And that was really important. You can't have one without the other. You can't have something punitive without also, or I don't feel you can, they're teenagers, it's not as impactful to just have a punitive measure as it is to integrate an educational component. And so in addition to discussions that are happening during advisory, and Brian, as the director of residential life, weaves these into the fabric of evening time in the dorms. So as he said, there's a residential life night, that's designed just to have that be the subject. And maybe we have a speaker on that and maybe we just watch a movie, but there will be a night in a trimester where that subject is covered. And yeah, it's an issue. And, you know, I think it's because it's concealed a little bit. It's not like lighting a cigarette, you know, it's if they can conceal it, but we're very cognizant of the dangers of it. And we know, and we did change our policy in the handbook, you know, just so kids understood the magnitude of how dangerous it is, but then also, you know, they get education about, you know, just so they really can see how dangerous it is. So
I just think it's really important, though, to make parents aware that you're covering these kinds of things.
Just to keep them in the loop, if nothing
Keep
else.
them.
And to help reinforce it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and to-
There are warning signs that they can monitor as well.
Yeah.
You may see them at parents.
It's great work.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is what Vaughn is saying, is it's great work, let the parents know that this is happening so they can support and.
Because that kind of accentuates the value that you're bringing as a residential private school. I'm
And if we're restricted by what you can put up on content because the system is restrictive, let's figure out how to break those restrictions.
I guess
Because-
that's my question, is what's the right format? You know, is it, so it's easy, right, with students and faculty, we have an email to students, everybody gets it. So like, you know, our kids say, oh, it's not on the weekend, but they get the weekend list of every single Friday night, like clockwork. So the same could be true for this. I guess we don't know what that is. Is it an email to parents? Is it parent news? That is something we could continue to explore the right way.
You can even have I mean, obviously, some of these is starting it and then people learning that that's where they can go to get the information. But
Yep.
in the, you know, the, what is it called again? My apps or
School
My
apps.
School apps, where you can log in, you might have a little link again, because my login doesn't work. That's on the side. When, I'm sure once it does, Mary's does, you can access, and I don't think there's any bias here, but hers works, mine doesn't. But you can have a link there, you know, information for, regarding topics that, for discussion, whatever you call
Even
it.
this.
Yeah,
You just see
and then you
this
just
schedule.
click on the link and it pops up as a PDF and you just know what you're.
I mean,
That's good stuff.
yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea.
Well, we spoke to sort of the disconnect between res life and day students avoiding the day. And that was one thing that once we kind of dissociated the positions of the dean of student life and director of res life, is that we don't want it to be just res life curriculum. We don't want to just be educating the kids that live here and feel like those day students are missing something. So that's why we really worked harder to implementing this to advisory. So rather than res life
No
curriculum,
woven
it's
in
the
several
student life
spots,
curriculum,
yeah.
so everybody's has it. And then sometimes what we've also encouraged is because it can become monotonous to talk about certain things over and over again with the same 7 people in a room. What we've also encouraged advisors to do is mix and match. You can get 2 advisors together one day on a certain topic that you think will generate more conversation. And we've really been encouraged that, or even I'm taking your advisory, you're taking mine, because then it's a new face, it's a new something. So there's things like that we're trying to continue to implement to make it more engaging. We just don't want it to be, I'm an advisory, give me
No,
another
no.
important topic. So like, that's the kind of thing we're constantly brainstorming, and that comes with class deans every year. It's who the team is, and then we hit the ground running. And that's something that we've been continuing to strengthen.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Really impressive.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any questions? I mean, we can go into weekend activities. That's a part of our, as Brian showed you, things to do for the kids, part of our office. You
Our
know,
bigger
we have
events throughout the
stable
year.
events.
How's that
exactly.
going, as someone who's not, how's weekend stuff?
We don't hear anything about it, so that's why I'm like, you know.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? you think?
No, I don't think from you. We're not saying
We're
from
not
you
saying
guys.
No, I understand.
We're saying
I
from
understand.
Michael. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
So,
like,
Same thing.
you know,
Tease it out.
and we don't know
It's
how
so
much.
funny, the students have like such a world here, right? It's amazing,
Yeah.
like they have so many things that
sometimes
they
I
do
keep
while
to keep
they're.
it private, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, because
we're
we
hearing
will, and I don't know,
stories
maybe,
all the time.
you know, we've heard versions of a Michael that, not bad, but that we don't even know exist. Like, we have an image of, you know, him, you know, essentially on the weekends, because this is what he sort of conveys to us, that he's, you know, on his iPad in his room all day, every day, if he's not in class or doing athletics. And yet we hear he actually does have friends, and he goes and so we have no way to really judge, because we don't know what
Bowling every
he
Saturday night.
maybe, we have no idea.
Or one anecdote I could give you for Michael is at least for this weekend too, one of his dorm parents is Mr. Choose.
Yes,
Mr.
sure.
Choose and some other students started grill and chill.
Yeah?
So the 25 house kids love grill and
Oh,
chill.
that's
So this
Okay.
Sunday evening, we're taking out the big grill and Choose is out there with usually 20 kids circling him around the grill, and there's lawn games and all stuff. So that's one thing that's this Sunday night.
Okay.
I have no doubt
Michael will be
Yeah,
in that. Okay,
Just so you
very
know
good.
that one.
Yeah, he likes to chill, so, and grilling is good too.
That's
So
a
No.
really good idea.
That's
Grill and
absolutely.
chill.
Yes, grill at home.
Yeah.
I almost wonder, and this is probably because I haven't explored. I know there's a tab about student life, but I wonder if this kind of stuff and this kind of stuff could be posted there. So you don't get involved in a big broadcast communication, and people who are interested can know, go to this tab, you get this information about what's happening this weekend. That would be good for day student parents as well.
Do parents get like what's happening every weekend? I have
No,
idea.
not in that
Yeah.
fashion, no. So I try to be pretty consistent, but it's usually around 2 o'clock on Fridays that here is everything. And then it goes out like that, and it's always
that
formatted the
go out
same way with sign up.
Parents?
No, just students and faculty.
Oh.
So what I've had some parents who are very, very interested, and I sometimes have a separate email. Hey, also these are the weekend activities. So I've done that on a case-by-case basis. But I do think a platform where it is this, but also like the same way our kids can see what's in the dining hall for lunch, like the same thing. It's like, oh, here's the weekend, this is what's going on.
Well, and I would think actually the parents, if it's easy enough for you to post it, like you're sending it just a parent page.
Just upload it to the.
Just upload it to the parent page.
Or,
You could put it to the VAPA email and then you
Sure,
can put it on the
sure.
Facebook page.
I think people do get saturated with emails, so
yeah,
that,
that's
but I
the
think if it's,
concern.
Yeah.
I know my organization, we started having just a site on our website that's just all parent communication. So anything that we go out to kids, we just post it there so that parents say, oh, I didn't get that notice, I didn't know about that. You just go to the parent portal page.
Yeah.
And I think it would be, be good for us to know, well, what's this happening on campus this weekend? What can
Well,
my day
it might-
student fit into and not?
Exactly. It'd be a good way for day students to
You
know.
want to engage, and there were parents at the last meeting who were very clear that their kids want to go home and need their downtime. And we actually have one of each. We have one kiddo who can only study at home, who needs his quiet introvert time, and there's another one who'd rather be a boarder. So, and she will, the more she's here, the more she's gonna try to finagle beds here, I'm sure of it. But I think for us to be able to say, well, let me see what's happening on campus that's appropriate for you to be involved in, or not.
She could look at it and say, I think,
I'm not a parent yet. Are you able to view from a calendar standpoint where our major events are? Like things like Winter Carnival and all
This
those?
is where the My School app design makes it very difficult for us
so
to see
interesting.
it.
Yeah, so that is something we can definitely explore more, because it is broken down as detailed as that is this weekend. But there's also what our students have is the general breakdown by trimester. So here, for example, is the winter trimester, every one of our bigger events. So they know they receive the minute they get back from Thanksgiving break, this is the winter, this is everything you're gonna
And
see.
they look forward to
This
it.
is the spring,
Like
everything
casino
you're
night
gonna
is
see.
fun for them.
And then within that, each weekend's more detailed, specific. So those things also go out publicly, internally. They know when our biggest dates are, when everything is happening. That's all of our biggest events.
So I think
What's the
that's,
spring
that,
fling dance?
that dovetails into the,
So we can speak to that, is that because there were those kids that wanted the formal prom, we said, okay, we'll have that formal prom, and we've already joked about how much that has escalated into what it is now. We said for everyone else, we'll just have an end of the year blowout dance in the gym. It'll make spring fling kind of like a bigger event. So it's prom, another dance, which we've actually gone back and forth now because proms getting so big, maybe we don't have
Yeah, maybe
a
we don't
dance
have the dance
also.
if everybody's
We
attending
initially
prom.
envisioned like a prom of 30 to 40 kids and an all-school dance. We're unsure at this moment, but that was one thing we talked about. And then obviously Sunday, spring fling is a
So it's
great
the
day.
ice cream
I,
Sunday.
I
I didn't know anything about spring fling dance.
no, neither did I. So, thinking about this parent portal that they can go to, if you could have objectives for the year, objectives for the trimester, objectives or, activities this weekend. So somebody could go on and say, oh, the casual parent, and there's some of those, this is what we're going to accomplish this year.
But you're not talking about more work for these guys, you're talking about them already just putting what they're already doing.
Yeah, just getting it to an easy dissemination where, quite frankly, it's a little bit up to the parents as to how much they're, if the-
And if they want to know,
it's all there.
but it's all about promoting what you're already doing. It's not making more work for you.
Right.
It's just
I mean, if it was
communicating
as simple
what
as
you're
just uploading what we have, that is easy. As you can see, this
Yeah.
was 5 minutes, like, oh, let's print all this stuff that we already are doing.
This happens every
This
day,
isn't
right?
something we typed up for this
Yeah.
meeting, we have all this information,
Anyway.
and it's just happening with
But
space, yeah.
Because I also think there was some, there's some topics that come up with parents as far as like organization of now looking at the athletic schedule. Like we were talking about our parents' weekends and things like that, having the 2 dedicated parents' weekends, but maybe organizing the athletic schedule so that your home fall games, all fall sports are out of DA on that parents' weekend, regardless of what the.
I know we've done that better from year to year. There
Right,
have
so
been
we're
years
really
where we've
making
done
a post
that
and
well,
then
yeah.
marketing it, and the same thing for the
Can
spring.
I see a copy of what you sent to the kids?
Just
on
for this
Fridays?
weekend?
Yeah,
Yeah,
see,
yeah,
right there,
yeah.
that was like,
And they
Athletics,
offer
it's everything.
they offer their input, like they choose, there's some things that they always want to do, go to the movies and certain restaurants that they love.
Or
watching.
this is always a big one, is NMH hosts a visiting school dance, so there's close to 12 schools that are all gonna be at NMH this evening in their hockey rink, with paint and DJs.
and
And
I'm
it's,
just bringing them.
we're sending out around 30 kids.
Yeah, we
So
send
it's
them every
absolutely
Great.
It's
a
fun.
terrible event I would never want to attend, but the kids
The kids
love
love
it.
it.
So they're
Well,
going
but it's
down.
also so
this
feeding
weekend.
other private school kids.
Yeah, it's
Oh, it
for
is.
us,
Oh, it's
for
great.
everyone,
It's great.
yeah.
So we have sent up to 60 one year. This year, we're capping it at 30.
So going back to this communication with the parent piece, I am having a flashback of a certain parent who I won't mention, she's a friend, so I can do this, who she wanted to know about this because she wanted to tell her son he had to go. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
So there's that piece of it, in terms of if a parent knows this happening, they should encouraging their kid to be involved.
Yeah.
Saying, I'll reward you somehow if you engage socially.
Sure.
But there is some communication that you're doing directly to the kids that, we talked about this, that needs to go to the parents. So there's a, sort of an activity, or you should attend this. This would be a really important thing for you to attend instead of sitting in your room. But then that level of, you have sort of different layers of discipline that you manage the process yourselves,
Mhm.
that the parents could be a more helpful or maybe a hindrance, but, when it gets to a certain level, there should be some automatic communications that are done. And I know you've done manual pieces of it. It shouldn't be manual. It should be like an automatic thing across the board. So, like I said, I think there's definitely some changes you can make that are going to overall going to be a better experience with parents remotely, even different cases of parents.
Yeah.
So, I don't think
Lots
it's,
of
I don't think
really
it's,
excellent stuff.
I don't think it's, I know it's a hard balance where you're trying to teach them responsibility, you're trying to self-managing of your own, sort of life here. But I think sometimes having the parents clued in, like we don't have to tease it out on FaceTime or, how are you doing? Fine. Is everything going great? Are you getting it? No. Have you gone else?
Are you texting with Michael?
So
Those are the answers I get.
yeah, so I think that, if you read the email from Caitlin, it wasn't open, was it? So simple things like that I think that if the parents, parents can get involved and help the overall
Well, I
experience.
mean, we care for them like they're our children, but they're not our children, so I totally understand that, having insight into, what's going on with them, of course.
I think also you are exposed, and I've said this to Melanie, that there are milestone moments that you have, prom, homecoming, things like that in a public school. But this whole college experience, and you're growing on a plan to where they, are getting into a college and getting their next phase of their life going. Those milestone moments that they experience in DA, having a way in which those are documented or at least identified, are huge for especially any parent, but remote parents especially. So, my son or daughter gets to the point where my son gets to the point where he's ripping open envelopes from, college's acceptance here, we lose all that, or when he got his license, and you know, those milestone moments are so critical, but it also shows that family component of you're actually experiencing them. And well, by the, there's a big huge thing about college signing day, and you know, you guys are starting to do a great job of that on social media. I mean, you can't do it for the 136 schools that you all got them accepted into, but you know what I mean. Those
We wish we could.
those
It's
folks-
exciting.
yeah, those things are they're a twofold effect. One, it's the individual joy that you are experiencing with them, but the promotional piece of it to how powerful VA is to a prospective family, you can't put a price tag on that. And it shows your department's strength right out there in the forefront. It shows the athletic department's strength and the care that you've done with, you know, the core team, and then obviously the individuals who have excelled, and all of them have excelled. So I just think that piece of it is, don't quit what you're doing. You're doing those things in small pieces, and you've got to figure out a way that you can push it.
Communicate. I think, just to reinforce Marty's message, that you probably come to this thinking, oh man, what are we gonna have to
Yeah,
do
they're gonna
now?
want more or something.
We're really,
Yeah.
this is great stuff.
Doing a great
We're not
job.
looking for you to do more. It's just
Just
getting
to
it
get
access
it
to the
out,
parent,
get
getting the
it.
access to the parents so
Yeah.
they can actually see it. 'Cause,
Yeah,
you know, I'd love to get him to go out of his room and go on certain trips, and you know,
Right.
'cause then now it's getting to the point. Also, as he goes through his years here, he's second year. He's now getting out more. He has more friends. He's doing that type of thing. You know, first year, you remember what it was like pulling teeth. You know, he's in a safety bubble type thing. But now he's like, you know, I can't get him to stop talking about going next in line and doing this, and especially.
Well, that does happen if they start as ninth graders, it's amazing how they start to build, like, once they start to take advantage of some of these things, they'll just want more and more of it, and then they become completely entrenched in everything that goes on here, and they're the kids that get their licenses that choose to spend Sundays here. But yeah, I mean, that we should explore with communications, you know, we're not the masters of the
Right.
website or anything like that, but if that warrants a conversation, you know, I don't know where the place for that is, but certainly, you know, it seems like we could, you know, put some of
Yeah,
this
I
in
mean,
a
it
place
sounds like,
where it's more visible to
obviously it
you
needs to be
also.
secure, but
Right.
if there's a place where you log in and it's, you click a tab parents page,
Yeah.
and then there's your, and it's not even that much additional work. Wherever you've uploaded it for the kids, they just have to link it, you know, to that other. So it would just be whoever manages the pages would just have a page to link. And then you guys would be the curators of what gets linked. You know, these are the things we want to port out. It's all communication. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely for some like bigger events, but even more so, I think we've become so routine in the way that it's like effort marks every 3 weeks. I'm going to write my notes, and advisors, sometimes they're working the hardest on the kids that require the most work.
Sure.
And for that reason, the ones they're calling home, it's tends to be more the negative. It's, they got to do it structured. They have to do this. And I think times we miss like, hey, why don't you just call that parent to tell them the really good thing, or that Michael they couldn't get the girl to work, and Michael went there and the propane. Maybe you don't want to hear that, but something of the sort to be a little more, you know, positive. You know, it almost becomes like, at least from my standpoint, when I call a parent, it's, oh my gosh, what's wrong? And perhaps if we could find a way that wouldn't be their immediate reaction.
Well, you guys have a lot on your plate, but I just, again, I want to reiterate, you are doing some great things. I had no idea what kind of fun things you had planned on the weekends. And I think the more you can just have, parents can have access to that, hopefully it'll make your job easier, not harder.
All good. Thank you.
thank you guys very much.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Yeah. All your good work. And again, if you ever think of ways VAPA can support you guys, you know,
Thank
you
you.
have a lot of parents that would like to support you in any way, so.
So we are all set for the ice cream truck for spring
Yep.
fling? Great.
So Spring Fling is a
19th,
day
19th, right?
celebration?
19th of May.
Is
Yeah.
that a year?
Yeah.
It's actually,
Wendy Kaplan sort of sourced this
Is that what we're talking
amazing
about?
ice cream duo, these two girls, right? These
Well,
entrepreneurial.
it's actually
We're
different.
not using the same people this year.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah, so
okay.
we're
One was a VA alum, and she's has a graduation or something that day, so.
This one is actually, we've contracted with Ben and Jerry's, so Ben
Oh,
and Jerry's
fun.
is doing a cup and cone party, and there's
Nice.
6 flavors, all nut free, and
Fun. They just want ice cream.
200 enough ice cream for 200 kids.
Is chocolate one of them?
Yes,
Michael's in.
and they have, I think it's 2 hours.
Where they bring.
Knocker ball,
knocker
novelty
balls.
flavors.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Is that
That's awesome.
now it's doing like Jamie Lee?
That's good, right?
Like one in the
Oh, games like that, yeah,
like big size games, and he travels and sets it up.
okay.
I'll get him